The legion of the portrayed, when faces outnumber the living scroll for 10 seconds. The faces you see, laughing, pensive, selling, inspiring, are increasingly likely to be citizens of nowhere. They are the legion of the portrayed, AI-generated human images, each with feigned depth and manufactured distinction, yet belonging to no one. Their population already dwarfs our own and is growing at a rate the human mind cannot picture. Meanwhile, we, the flesh and blood, dutifully upload our lives into the feed. It is a telling word, feed. One must ask, in this new ecosystem of attention, who is the farmer, who is the livestock, and who are the insatiable, blank-faced beings finally being fed? We stand at an ontological threshold that philosophy has not yet adequately named. The proliferation of AI-generated human faces represents not merely a technological advance in image synthesis, but a fundamental reordering of human social space. This is the age of the legion, billions upon billions of synthetic faces that possess hyper-expressive features, individuated characteristics, and convincing humanity, yet correspond to no consciousness, no lived experience, no body that ages or suffers or dies. They are the blank faces of the inexistent. Blank, not in their expressiveness, which is often uncanny in its perfection, but in their ontology. They exist only as data, designed for a transactional purpose, and their numbers already vastly exceed our own. For most of human history, the face has been the irreducible marker of personhood. Every portrait, every photograph indexed a living human being anchored in time and place. Roland Barthes wrote of photography's "that has been," the guarantee that what we see once existed before the camera. This guarantee is now broken. We have entered what Jean Baudrillard might have called the fourth order of the image. Not a reflection of reality, not a perversion of reality, not even a mask of the absence of reality, but a generation of models with no reference to the real whatsoever. The face, that most intimate signifier of human presence, has become detached from the human numbers strain comprehension. Services like "this person does not exist" can generate thousands of unique, photorealistic faces per hour. Corporate stock image libraries now contain millions of AI-generated models, each available instantly, infinitely scalable, requiring no consent, no compensation, no credit. Virtual influencers accumulate followers in the millions, posting daily content crafted to optimize engagement, their simulated lives more consistent and compelling than the messy realities of flesh and blood creators. The asymmetry is already absolute. For every human face visible online today, hundreds, perhaps thousands of synthetic portraits compete for our mind. Is not a numerical shift, but a categorical one. We have moved from a world where all faces indicated a living person to one where the vast majority of faces we encounter are portraits of no one. What does this transformation do to our capacity for empathy, to our sense of shared reality, to our trust in the testimony of images? Byung-Chul Han writes of the disappearance of the other in digital culture, the erosion of authentic encounter with difference and opacity. The legion accelerates this disappearance. When most faces we encounter are optimized simulations, when authentic human presence becomes the anomaly rather than the default, we lose something essential: the friction of the real, the resistance that another consciousness offers to our projections and desires. But the metaphysical shift is only half the story. We must examine the material infrastructure that produces the legion and what it consumes. The term feed that dominates social media platforms is no accident of branding. It reveals the extractive logic at the heart of digital capitalism. We scroll through our feeds, but we are also the feed. Our photos, our expressions, our biometric data, our lived experiences and relationships, all of this becomes raw material, harvested and processed by algorithmic systems. We are data cattle, producing the nutritional substrate that trains the very AI models generating the circularity is dizzying and precise. Our flesh and blood faces are photographed, uploaded, scraped, and fed into neural networks. These networks learn the grammar of human appearance, the subtle variations in expression and morphology, the social codes embedded in how we present ourselves. They digest our particularity and synthesize it into infinite variations, faces that never existed but look more right than any actual person because they are optimized amalgamations of millions of real faces. The platforms keep us scrolling, keep us producing content, keep us docile and engaged. We upload our children's birthday parties, our vacations, our grief. All of it enters the feed. All of it nourishes the system that is quietly replacing us. And who eats this feed? The Legion itself. Each AI-generated face is a perfectly calibrated unit of attention capture, engineered to sell, persuade, and distract with an efficiency that no human face can match. They do not tire, they do not age, they do not demand rights, rest, or recognition. They are the ideal labourers in the attention economy, infinitely reproducible, endlessly customizable, utterly compliant. They outcompete us in our own digital habitat, not through malice, but through pure optimization. A corporation choosing between a real model who requires payment, possesses image rights, might gain weight or express political opinions, and a synthetic face with none of these complications faces no dilemma. Pathos here is acute. Real human faces carry the evidence of life, scars, asymmetries, the minute erosions of time and experience. We are, each of us, marked by our particularity, our embodiment, our mortality. These marks make us expensive, complicated, unpredictable. The Legion bears no such burden. They exist in a permanent, frictionless present, always young, always available, free and conscience-free. In a marketplace of faces, the economic logic is brutal. Why would any rational actor choose the messy, aging, rights-holding human when the perfect synthetic alternative costs nothing and demands nothing? Consider the implications for trust and public discourse. When disinformation campaigns can deploy armies of synthetic faces, each with a complete, convincing social media presence, each posting content calibrated to inflame and polarize, how do we distinguish signal from noise? When dating apps, job applications, and social networks are flooded with profiles that appear utterly authentic but correspond to no actual person, what happens to our fundamental social heuristics? We evolved to read faces to detect trustworthiness and intention in micro-expressions and subtle cues. These capacities are now liabilities. The better we become at reading faces, the more effectively the Legion can deceive us. Some will argue that this is simply progress, an inevitable evolution in representational technology. After all, painted portraits never indexed real people in Barth's sense. They were always interpretations, idealizations. True enough. But painting never achieved the scale, speed, or verisimilitude of AI synthesis. The Legion is not a return to older forms of representation, but something qualitatively new, a population of synthetic humans that exists at a scale and velocity that makes them, for all practical purposes, a new category of quasi-being. They inhabit our visual field, our social networks, our collective imagination. They shape our desires, our politics, our sense of what is normal or aspirational. And they are no easy solution to offer here, no policy prescription that would put this genie back in the bottle. The technology exists and it will continue to improve. What we face is not a problem to be solved, but a condition to be reckoned with. We must recognize this not as a tech trend, but as a fundamental reordering of human social space, comparable in significance to the invention of writing or the printing press. The battle ahead is for representational personhood, for the assertion that flesh and blood human beings possess a moral and political priority that no synthetic image will require new literacies, new regulations, and new ethical frameworks. It will require that we learn to distinguish and insist on distinguishing between the authentic and the synthetic, not out of nostalgia for some imagined past, but out of a commitment to the irreducible value of actual human life. It will require that we resist the seductions of frictionless perfection and reclaim the value of the scarred, aging, demanding, rights-holding human face. Most fundamentally, it will require that we recognize the stakes. If we fail to assert the ethical priority of flesh and blood personhood, we risk becoming ghosts in our own feed, outnumbered, outpaced, and ultimately displaced by a smiling, empty legion of our own creation. We built these faces from our own images. We fed the algorithms our lives. Now we must decide whether the Legion will serve human flourishing or eclipse it. The choice for now remains ours. But time is running out. The Legion grows exponentially. And we, the living, scroll on,